Well, it's Brexit Day. The moon clashes with Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn, with Mercury as the last voice of reason. The moon then goes void, with nothing more to discuss. And like Brexit, don't expect fireworks. The month ends quietly, without fanfare. This is episode 2004 of 301 Permanently Moved, a personal podcast 301 seconds in length, written, recorded and edited in 1 hour by me, at the JMO. I don't really have anything to say about Brexit today. I do hope that you've enjoyed the Brexit anthem. Now that it's finally happened, it means I need to make a new bit of theme music. Anyways, this week I'd like to continue my fragmentary exploration of organisations and institutions and platforms as technosocial systems. Of course, my book project is called Land as Platform, so it shouldn't be a surprise that this is a subject that I'm thinking about. For new listeners, back in episode 1932, I talked about temporary total institutions. Institutions are constructed of both physical and psychic space, made up of rules and social norms which shape the behaviour of the people working on an activity within them. I should note that the psychic rules of an institution feed back into the physical environment. TTIs are both physical and mental environments that are voluntarily entered into. I also talked about the 5 types of organisational memory in episode 1933. This involved exploring the notion of the apparatus of governance, what it means to see like a stack, e.g. if it can't see something in its database, it's not part of its reality. All of this, of course, has knock-on effects on platform and system design. Today I'd like to make the case that we should give as much thought to software environments as we do physical environments when designing projects and institutions of the future. To kick things off, let us mention the bane of all infoprols' lives, the open plan, Office. We know that the reasons for not having them are myriad. They make bad bosses inescapable and make toxic work environments worse. Somebody is always trying to be a hero and sneezing their lurgy over somebody else. They drive introverts, i.e. 50% of the population, crazy. Trendy open plan offices are also full of coloured walls and quirky furniture. This is essentially visual pollution, a phenomenon which the European Scientific Journal tells us affects the overall well-being and thus the quality of life of a community. This may incite a physiological aversion and thus affect mental and physical health. You also end up sitting for 8 hours a day with your back exposed, causing your body to constantly produce cortisol, which negatively affects your weight and immune system whilst creating greater risk of chronic disease. They also increase gender inequality, yet organisations still seem to want them as their go-to office layout. I'd like to make the case that we should make no distinction between the software and physical environments in terms of the impact that they have on an institution or organisation. We know that software shapes people's behaviour and norms, so let's zoom in on communication software. Slack is the open plan office of the business world. Slack is 100% more about worker surveillance than office productivity. It forces an inability to have a private conversation on the worker anywhere in the software environment, with many toxic bosses quote unquote working, basically spying on channels and worker productivity, 8 more hours of your back exposed. A badly managed Slack is also full of visual pollution and distractions. Medium to large companies with Slack are also really bad at corporate memory and document control. Slacks are great for communities, but terrible for work. Slack is a fad that everyone who got suckered by it are probably regretting. Also, mind-bogglingly, Slack is not profitable and posted a net loss of $138.9 million in financial year 2019. Contrast a Slack-based company with one that uses Salesforce, a far more sedate bulletin board style UX where comments and updates are attached to unique items inside a CRM. Everything is logical and controlled. Conversations and updates are all attached to items relative to the work. Is that at the enterprise level, Chatter is excellent, actually. Then there's Google Apps with its half-assed communication and cohesion. Microsoft Office Suite is really good for most SMEs, but also very Microsoft. All the most exciting organisations I know are all using Notion.so and have largely banned intercompany chat. All these different tools shape the manners and mores of an organisation's culture. Again, if we make no distinction between the software and physical environments in terms of the impact they have on an institution, then UX needs to become a much larger field than it currently has. Taking cues from fields such as human architecture might be a good start. Last year in Barcelona at Sonar Plus D, on the panel Tales of the Next Internet, link in the show notes, I raised the point that a much larger focus should be placed on how software makes us feel. Chat apps like WhatsApp or Telegram are essentially tennis volleys. Music software highlights the artificial nature of the passing of time, and resource management strategy games like Civilization or SimCity have a machine-like algorithmic coldness. In the medium-term future, software systems should adapt to us. not the other way around. We should be able to meet the interface somewhere in the middle, the same way as the best kinds of physical project spaces like workshops do. See episode 1818, Mise en Place. Right now, I don't think any organizations seriously think about the psychic consequences of adopting a new piece of software. You wouldn't keep a tool like a hammer or a kettle around in your home for long if it actively made your life miserable. We shouldn't tolerate it with software or physical environments in the workplace either.